James, welcome Puck Boys.
Derek,
I'm looking forward to looking like Phil for the rest of my life.
Spencer,
he's an asshole, but goddamn, I would love to meet that guy.
And Matt.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of the Puck Boys podcast. The podcast called Puck Boys with 3 guys in long-term relationships and only one fuckboy. Derek, how's it going?
Very good today, Max. How are you?
Have you been fucking lot of boys?
Not as many boys lately.
Boys.
More onto the female train, but hit or miss. You got to keep it keep it even. Doesn't matter.
Swipe right, swipe right.
What matters
Continue.
is you win your hockey pool.
It's 2019, people.
2019.
So, last episode, we talked about the tips to help you not lose your pool. This week, we're talking about goalies. James?
Yeah, so goalies are probably one of the more important positions in fantasy hockey, okay? And that obviously is dependent on your league. Some leagues, they don't really think goalies are that important. Our league of record, goalies are extremely important. So we're going to run down, the top goalies and talk about their ADP and some other players that maybe you might want to select instead of these goalies. And just to give you context of, should you be reaching for some of these big names in the beginning of your draft? So start it off, Andre Vasilevsky. Right now, the ADP is number 9. Okay, that is extremely high. He's going in the first round. Other players that you could draft instead of him is Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews. Derek, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Vasilevsky.
He's going to play 70 games probably.
True.
With the best team in the league.
True.
So even if he has an off night, he's still going to give you points.
It really depends on goalie score.
I think he's the only goalie you really look at in most first rounds. And, depending on what sort of league you're in, if you have 2 goalies you need to start, I think you definitely take him over those guys. If you're in a league where you only have one goalie, maybe take one of those other guys instead.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but he only had 39 wins last year. I mean, only. But he didn't hit the 40-win mark. He only played 53 games, which is actually amazing to think he had 39 wins from 53 games. But if he can play 60 games, if he can play 65 games, you're right. He's probably worth it at that point. Let's go next in the line. Thinking about ADP, Ben Bishop. Right now, the average draft position of Ben Bishop is number 13. Other players that you could draft at that same place: David Pastrnak, Mitch Marner, Steven Stamkos. Spenny, would you draft Ben Bishop at 13?
Like I said in the previous show, Ben Bishop is a guy that I would be staying away from depending on the players that are around him. I like Ben Bishop. I think he's a really solid player. So when you see guys, like you said, Leon Draisaitl, you go down the list a little bit and find Erik Karlsson, Panarin, Rantanen. Like, I'm going for Rantanen, 100%. I would go for Rantanen over Ben Bishop. You got a solid right winger because once you go down the list, you're going to see less and less quality right wingers. But I don't know. It just really depends. If 14th overall, if he dropped down to 20, 23, yeah, then I'd go for him.
I hear you. Okay, well, 13 is a little steep for me. I'm with you. I'd probably take Erik Karlsson if I was really keen right there, but Steven Stamkos is right there. Like, well, I don't know. It would be tough to pass on Steven Stamkos and go with Ben Bishop. Khudobin last year was a great backup goalie that took care of, when he got hurt. So that could happen again this year. Yeah, I'd pass on Ben Bishop. Next, Sergei Bobrovsky with his new team. It's being drafted right now at 20. Other players that you could draft at that same place: Mikko Rantanen, Spencer, you just talked about him. John Tavares, Derek.
Patrick Kane as well.
Patrick Kane. Yeah, there's some really good players here. So, is Sergei Bobrovsky worth it?
He is in a good situation there. He will play a lot of games. He should get at least 60 games played this year. But it's still tough to take a goalie that early, depending on your league and the points. But personally, I'm taking Patrick Kane, Braden Point, somewhere around that 20 mark.
Fair enough. Yeah, you know what? I can't disagree with you there. I still think it's a little steep for Sergei Bobrovsky.
So with Bobrovsky, I mean, last year he was amazing. The guy also has 2 Vezina trophies. Are we going to see any sort of regression with him in Florida?
I would say yes. He's 30 years old. Not to say that there aren't goalies that are doing well in their 30s right now, but
I got to stop you right there because you've got to start looking at the trends of where the goalies are ranked. So when you see all the top goalies in the league right now, they're all over 30. All of them. Like you have a couple guys who are going to be a bit younger. You've got the Jordan Binningtons and the Carter Harts and everything. I have a bit of a biased opinion on Bobrovsky because I've had him as my keeper for the past 3 to 4 years. So with him, when he went to Columbus, he had played 2 seasons over in Philadelphia. So he played over there, and he was playing for like a not-so-bad team. It was one that was just coming off of a Stanley Cup hangover, and they started to dwindle down. So he was still putting up good numbers. This guy's only ever had a below 500 season once, and he's always been above, and whenever he's played on a team that has not been doing well, he's proven to be that key guy that you need to keep in your franchise to turn that team around. When you see him getting nominated for 2 Harts, you see him getting 2 Vezinas, and always being at the top of the list of top goalies in the league. When he goes to a team like Florida, who's up and coming, you see how many strong guys they have on their team. It's just nonstop building. Bobrovsky's going to come in there, and he's going to turn that team around. If they weren't turning around already, they're going to be a powerhouse this year.
I agree. Yeah, they were leaning on James Reimer last year. It wasn't ideal. So I agree with you 100%.
I don't know. I think that Florida's a little cocky, you know. They just lost Roberto Luongo, probably one of the greatest goalies of all time. Yeah, he wasn't what he used to be last year. You know, they've had good goaltending. They've had a good team. And Aaron Ekblad making these comments like they're the team to beat now, fucking show it. I'm not buying into Florida just yet. I think they're a good young team, but every year I think they're going to do well, and they haven't done well. Hopefully this year is different. Hopefully Bobrovsky changes things.
Bobrovsky is the new Florida man. Bobrovsky is Florida man.
He is Florida man. You're right. All right, let's get through this a little quicker. There's a couple guys in the clump here. Marc-Andre Fleury is going at 23, and Tuukka Rask is going at 26. So those guys, that would be around Tyler Seguin, Alexander Barkov, Taylor Hall, Patrice Bergeron, Victor Hedman. Would you draft those guys over Marc-Andre Fleury?
No, I absolutely would not. Marc-Andre Fleury is a beast. He had 8 shutouts last year, and look for big things out of him again.
Oh, yeah, Bobrovsky had 9 shutouts last year. I don't know if that's good or not, but that's pretty good.
Is that good?
That's pretty good, yeah.
It's not bad. 9 shutouts. That's almost 10 shutouts, James.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really high on Tuukka Rask. Tuukka Rask last year, he had some injury problems. They also had some great goaltending from Halak last year. Tuukka Rask had 27 wins on 46 starts. And I don't know, I think in the 3rd round, Tuukka Rask is a great stud of a goalie to pick.
If you don't have a goalie by then, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, all right. So next in the list, Toronto fans, you should be happy. Frederik Andersen is going at the average draft position of 37. Now, 37, that lines up nicely with Roman Josi, Jack Eichel, PK Subban. Now, I think that makes a little bit more sense for me. I kind of like that. Spenny, what do you think?
That's a tough one. I like Frederik Andersen. I like Toronto. But when you see guys like Jack Eichel, that's also another person where you could be finding him in the 2nd round. And even if you drop down the list a little bit more, you find guys like Braden Point. You see Landeskog. Not Line, but Malkin. So these guys, yeah, I would consider taking them over. But if you're still waiting to get a goalie, sure, jump on Frederik Andersen.
Yeah, I think Frederik Andersen, he's going to be pushing for the 40 wins this year.
I would take Andersen over Rask.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'd probably take him over Marc-Andre Fleury. I'd be skeptical about that, but I would take him over those two.
Plus, they're going to win the
Actually,
cup
there are
this
quite
year.
a few people I would take over Tuukka Rask and a Marc-Andre Fleury. I would let those guys bypass, and I would wait for the next few rounds.
All right. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So Pekka Rinne is close behind after that. His ADP is number 39. So that'd be the same type of players. That'd be, Patrick Laine, Mark Scheifele, PK Subban, Gabriel Landeskog. For me, I think Pekka Rinne's at the age of 36, he's getting to the end of his career. He has been one of the greatest goalies to play the game. I love Pekka Rinne. I've drafted him in so many leagues over the last couple of years, and he's always been a stud, minus a couple games here and there. But Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be drafting him this year at that time. I think there's better players out there, and especially if I expect myself to have a stud goalie at this point. If you feel like you want to just add Pekka Rinne also on top of that, that's a pretty good 2 goaltenders. But I also think Nashville's thinking about a backup plan, and he's not a part of the future. So what do you guys think? You agree, disagree?
Yeah, UC Saros has been playing good hockey the last couple of years, and I think he could push Pekka Rinne's starts down. So, yeah.
All right. Now 2, more draft positions after that. So the ADP, Carey Price is going at 41. Spenny, what do you think about Carey Price at 41? He lines up nicely with guys like, again, Alex DeBrincat, Gabriel Landeskog, Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, Carey Price has always been consistent. He's always proven his name by frequently doing well every single season. My only concern with Carey Price is that he is injury prone. And there have been a couple times where he's been knocked out for the majority of the season, which takes effect on your pool. But seeing Carey Price sitting there, it's like a fucking gold mine. When you just see that guy ranked so low, he is a top pick. But it's just my same skeptical feeling of how well is Montreal going to do this year. Yeah, they're starting to look better, but there have been a couple off seasons when they were expected to do well. I think Carey Price is, he's kind of the dark horse at this point. Even though he was the number 1 guy, Hall of Famer even. I don't know how true that is. Yeah, I would strongly consider him.
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Hall of
In my
Famer.
eyes. Jordan Binnington, last year, no one drafted this guy. If you were lucky to pick him up at the halfway point, you probably won your league, or you probably were pretty high up there in the standings. So this guy's going around 48. 48 right now is Braden Point, Derek's boy here, or
Hell
Chris
yeah.
Letang.
Also my boy.
I think, at the age of 26, Jordan Binnington's going to have another good year with, St. Louis. They just won the Stanley Cup. What do you think, D Downs?
He's just got so much confidence. He carries himself like a true professional, and I think he's only going to get better.
It's hard to disagree with that. Coming off
Stanley
the Stanley
Cup
Cup,
champion, man. What else do you need? He proved himself in his first year.
Yeah. Okay. And now rounding out the top 10 in terms of ADP, John Gibson, drafting at 53. So that lines up with guys like Dusty Buff. That lines up with guys like John Klingberg. Spenny, what do you think? You taking John Gibson here?
At this point, I would probably not take John Gibson. I don't trust Anaheim this year. I think they're fine, but I don't expect them to make the playoffs. There are actually a couple really solid goalies that linger right behind him. I think he's ranked a bit high. If I were to see John Gibson and then Braden Holtby sitting right next to him, because Braden Holtby, I know it's going into the next question, I'm fucking going for Braden Holtby all day. All fucking day. And he's another guy that I would take over a few of the other players in the beginning, because you kind of forget, we're like, oh shit, Braden Holtby's still sitting there. Obviously, I got to pick him up because the guy, he just won a Stanley Cup a couple of years ago.
He plays for the Capitals.
Plays for the Capitals. Like, even over like Jordan Binnington, I think Jordan Binnington's great. I think that, his confidence is definitely like, he's somebody that you want to consider strongly. But Braden Holtby has proven himself, and Jordan Binnington has come off a strong season in a Stanley Cup, but he's still young. He could Cam Ward it.
I also don't trust Anaheim. I think the 26 wins that John Gibson got last year, for how well he played, he was incredible. He's probably the only thing going for them last year, and the fantasy points just aren't there. I mean, for a struggling team like that. He is a stud in net, though. He's going to play 60, 65 games next year. So, if he drops, he's not a bad goalie to pick up. Anyway,
he'll get a lot of shots.
Good fallback guy.
Yeah.
He's a good fallback guy.
Sure.
I agree. But you're right. Braden Holtby right there, kind of hard to take John Gibson over him.
John Gibson's still young. He could potentially be a keeper in your league too.
For sure. Okay, so let's go around. These are the top 10 guys, and what I really want to know from you guys is, what are the value picks for goalies? What goalies can you get in the later rounds that are worth in your mind to wait and know that you're going to have someone that's productive? Max.
There's a few guys. This is a bit of a weird year because you look at the goalie list and there's a few guys who are big names who are way down some of these ADP lists. One guy who's way down there right now is Jonathan Quick. He's had a couple of, shaky, injury-prone seasons in the last couple of years. Corey Crawford's another guy who's going to be starting out, but he could at some point come back, and when he does come back, probably be a pretty good goalie at least. And then we have the one guy who we're still waiting to turn it all around, Corey Schneider. Will Corey Schneider be a number one fantasy goalie ever again?
He's dead.
Can he do it?
Can he do it?
I don't think so, but give him a try.
Give him a try. But yeah, on a serious note, one guy who I think is down there who could be a really good value pick is Jacob Markstrom. The Canucks, I think, are on a turn up at the end of last year. He was playing really, really well. I wouldn't lean on him as your number one guy, but I wouldn't be upset with him being my second goalie.
You can lean on him he's almost that number one guy because I had him last year. He's played 60 games in back-to-back seasons. He's a beast. He gets a lot of shots on goal because the Canucks defense, as we know, is not that great. This year, hopefully a bit better. We are on the up and up there, but back-to-back seasons of 60 games played. Last year, he was 28, 23, and 9 with a 2.77 goals against average and a .912 save percentage. So, for sure, he's a kind of that top-end second guy.
And it's a volatile position where a lot of guys who everyone loves at the beginning of the year have really bad seasons.
Yeah.
And then there's some guys who nobody guessed who end up having really good seasons. So my strategy every year is just get as many solid guys kind of in that later period as possible. Get your cornerstone goalie early and then pick up 2 or 3 solid guys who could be good because no one ever complains about having too many good goalies on their fantasy team.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Those middle round picks are what win you those championships. Those first round guys, they're good, but it's those middle round picks that really win it for you.
All right, Spain, you got a value pick for us?
Yep. I got a few different guys here. So my big value pick this year, even though he's another Hall of Famer, but somebody that could get overlooked is Henrik Lundqvist. So New York, with how many acquisitions they've made over this past offseason, with picking up Capo Caco and picking up Panarin, and I just think that Lundqvist is one of those forces to be reckoned with where he's going to do the exact same thing as he does every single year, and he's just going to go down so fucking low. He's going to get picked in like the 12th round.
You think he stays healthy all year?
Yeah, I think so. Because he's always been a consistent player. He's never down. And when he's down, it's not for that long. Mm-hmm. Another guy that I really like too that is getting dropped a lot is David Rittich. So Calgary, sure, they just picked up my boy Cam Talbot. But, I think that is another fucking guy who's saddled up and riding into the sunset and he's off and fucking gone. But David Rittich, he's coming in as this unknown guy and he crushed it last year. He was splitting the net with Mike Smith, but Mike Smith, he's more of a mentor guy and he's off and on to Edmonton. But I would keep a strong eye on David Rittich.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, there could be something there. I think Cam Talbot might have a better year this year. He might. I think they're still going to be
pick him up,
sharing.
James.
They're going to be sharing the crease, I think, in Calgary this year. But my value pick for this season is Antti Ranta. Antti Ranta last year only played 12 games. I think Arizona in general is going to be a much better team. They now got Phil. All you got to do is supply, free hot dogs and cookies, and this guy's going to score you 30 goals a year. I mean,
dogs.
That means wins, right? I don't know. But Arizona Coyotes, they're going to be a much better team this year. And last year, when Antti Ranta went down, Darcy Kemper did a great job. Now, I know, Antti Ranta, Darcy Kemper, not the same people. But Darcy Kemper had 27 wins last year. Okay? If you add that on to the total of Antti Ranta, he had 5 wins last year in his 12 starts.
They only missed the playoffs by a couple of points, didn't they?
Only a couple points.
Only a couple points.
I think they're a better team this year, and Antti Ranta will be a value pick for you. Okay? Let's, the value guys, the deep guys, that's good, but some people, they have smaller drafts. And so let's talk about our studs. Let's talk about those, maybe that top 10 we just went over. Who are the studs that you guys are going to maybe reach a little bit that you're going to take in the first couple rounds? D Downs, who you got?
I'm looking at Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah, he's getting a little older, but that team is just too good. He's 34. He's a huge body. He's standing at 6'6", 206 pounds. He's a great player. First overall pick in 2003, still going strong.
Marc-Andre Fleury's in a perfect spot. He's going to continue to produce at a high level. Who cares that he's in his almost mid-30s? He's 34.
Dude, that's the
right
prime
now?
age for goalies, man. You fucking look at Tim Thomas. He came into the league. God damn it, he played on a team that didn't even exist. Fucking Hartford Whalers, and he was still crushing it in the late 2000s.
Well, you got it. Spenny, who's your stud? Who you taking?
Right now, he is ranked way too low. It's Connor Hellebuck. That guy, like the Winnipeg Jets, another team.
Champion.
They're sort of a hit or miss. Like last year, it seemed like Patrick Laine had a bit of a sophomore slump. And they've made a couple of big trades. Dusty Buff is getting old. But all around, I totally trust Winnipeg. And I trust Hellebuck because he's super young. He's got a whole fucking 20 years left in him. And he's still going to be one of those top guys that you can have. If this were a keeper league, absolutely. He should already be taken. But right now, his average draft rank is in the 70s. That's ridiculous. He's a fucking top 3, top 4 round goalie. So, yeah, he's the one that I'll make a bit of a reach for if I see him available.
Quick stat correction: Marc-Andre Fleury, 6'2", not 6'6". Sorry about that, folks.
Still a fucking mutant, though.
Okay, my stud and my keeper in our league of record is Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby is the number one guy. He's 29 years old on a fantastic Washington team. Last year was a bit of a down year for him. He had 32 wins, with over 59 games that he played. A couple seasons ago, he was in the 40 win range. He won 40 or more 3 years in a row from 2014 to 2017. Sure, he might be getting a little older. They're resting him now. They figured it out. They're like, let's rest him during the regular season. And then in the playoffs, we have our number one goalie that can kill it for us. So, I might be contradicting myself now, but I still think this guy is a stud for 60 starts and at least 35 wins. And for me, I'm going to reach for that guy, especially with his ADP as low as it is right now. He's going way too late, in my opinion. We just had that debate about John Gibson. At 55, I'm so comfortable taking him in round 5. It's not even funny. Okay?
It's not even funny.
It's not even funny.
No, it's not even funny.
So, another guy, quickly, Carey Price. I mean, we don't need to keep talking about Carey Price. He's, in my opinion, the greatest goalie in the world right now. Last year, I drafted him in 2 of my leagues. I won both of those leagues. You know why? Because everyone was scared about Carey Price because he was hurt the season before that. Didn't play very well, right? He only had 16 wins. Then he comes back last year with a 35-win season, playing 66 games. This guy is no joke. He's the greatest goalie in the world. Take him early if you can. That's my 2 cents.
I feel like you could have said all of that without including that you won those 2 leagues. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back there, bud.
It's a hard life, being so rich, but it's okay. One day you'll win.
You're going to break your fucking legs jumping off that high horse, big boy.
Okay, so now then, let's talk about redemption stories. So goalies who we think might emerge after, almost looking like they were dead last year. So Derek, who is your redemption story this year?
We've heard his name a couple times, but I've got to go with Jonathan Quick. LA was the second worst team in the league last year, and I just can't see them being that bad again. So I'm taking Jonathan Quick. Conn Smythe in 2012, whatever. You don't forget how to play goalie. He's looking for a big comeback year for sure.
His save percentage last year was a .888. That's the lowest that he's had in his entire career.
With 3.38 goals against a game, too.
3.38.
Brutal stats.
His career average is .914. And his career, goals against average is 2.36. So across the board, last year was a terrible year for him. It was a terrible year for LA. Not to mention, he tore his meniscus in his knee and required surgery last year on October 31st. So right when the season started, this guy had surgery and he was out for a couple months When he finally came back, he was never 100%, never played up to the standards that we know that Jonathan Quick can. So I completely agree with you. I think Jonathan Quick is going to have a great year, and his ADP right now is 159.
159?
He's getting drafted in the 13th to 14th round. I'm not even going to tell you the players that are over there. It's embarrassing. Spenny, who is your redemption goalie this year that you think will do a lot better?
Just to follow up on you guys, the one thing that makes me nervous about picking a guy like Jonathan Quick is the guy who's coming right after him is Jack Campbell. This guy's an 11th overall pick that was traded from Dallas for fucking dick all. And then he comes in. Last year, he had to play 31 games. Now, it's not a winning record, but he was also on a shit team, fucking dumpster fire. But he had a 9.28 save percentage.
Yeah.
And he has a 2.3 goals against.
He's a little shaky.
He's a bit shaky, but at the same time, I feel like he's going to be the one that comes after Jonathan Quick. Whenever he gets fucking down and injured or tears something else and he's out long-term, eventually he's going to be out for his whole fucking career, not playing the NHL. Jack Campbell's 27 years old. Yeah, it's the one thing that makes me a little bit nervous. It's not about age. It's about injury history and who's behind him. But just to respond to your question, James, my turnaround guy is Carter Hutton. So Carter Hutton is on... He's not going to be the one who's going to come back and turn Buffalo to be, going to the promised land by any means. But I think that he's a guy that you want to keep in mind for having a super, super late pick. Last season, he had a really strong start. He was really killing it at the beginning. He was one of those guys who were like, oh shit, either I'm picking him up or I'm trying to trade him for someone that's way bigger than him because you're like, Buffalo's doing it this year. They're at least like making to the second round, but then not at all. And he fucked up and did nothing.
I thought he was taking me all the way home. No dice.
Yeah, but I don't know. People were printing off T-shirts with his face on it being like our fucking hero. Probably not. That's just me making shit up right now. But Carter Hutton is my turnaround guy. I'm going to be going for him if he's available, but way, way, way late. Probably in like the 12th fucking round if he's still around because his average draft pick, I don't even know if he has anything. He's got a little hyphen next to him.
Yeah, very low-end second goalie, high-end third, bench goalie.
That was a lie. 172.
Okay. My goalie this year that I think is going to have a bit of a comeback. Not that he had a terrible year last year, but I just think he's going to do significantly better this year is Peter Mrazek. Now, the reason being, Peter Mrazek and Curtis McElhinney last year were sharing the pipes, and, they both played very well. But the problem was they were in a timeshare, complete timeshare. McElhinney played 33 games, and I think Mrazek played 40. So, and there must have been another goalie in there, math nerds. But anyways, I think Peter Mrazek, when he was in Detroit, he stole the number one, position from Jordan Howard. I think this guy has it in him. The Carolina Hurricanes are looking like a better team every single year. Last year, they surprised a couple people by beating Washington in the playoffs and moving on to the conference finals. I think they're going to bring that success from last year, bring the momentum into this year, and I think Mrazek, if he plays 60 games, he's going to be a much more productive, or he's going to be a better goalie for you this year. So, Max, what do you think?
Yeah, a guy who was really a saving grace for me. He was the third goalie I brought in, and I always say his name wrong. It's Robin Lehner. Lehner? Am I saying that right? Lehner. He has an amazing story. We all know his story. He's come back from some terrible hardships, and he's really seemed to have taken a turn off the ice, and it's translated to on the ice as well. And now he's with Chicago. So, as we mentioned before, Crawford isn't going to be playing at the beginning of the year. He's out right now. He might come before the beginning of the year, but it looks right now like Robin's going to be the starter. And I think Chicago is going to be a vastly improved team. So if he's sitting there and you got only one goalie and you're looking at a guy, I think he could be the pick.
So does that mean Corey Crawford is just going to be sitting on the bench?
I would take Leonard over Crawford all day.
Yeah?
He's sober now, and he is a changed man.
Yeah, he traded in the beers for wins, James. And that's all we could ask.
That's all we can ask.
And I think that's all we can ask from you guys. We've talked about goalies all freaking night. I think we are done. And let's put a cap on episode number 2. But we are going to be back with more episodes, and we're going to be getting you ready for your draft. We're going to be talking about rookies. We're going to be talking about forwards. And we're going to be maybe talking about a heated discussion we had earlier this week of why you shouldn't take Connor McDavid first overall. So that's coming up on later episodes. If you made it this far, bless your heart. No one expected that of you. Have a great day.